comments, thumbs up. Good afternoon, everyone. Someone can post in the comment, I'm fine, I'm good. Good afternoon. How are you guys? Hope you guys are excited about today's session. Okay, so this weekend we're going to have our last Power BI session for this workshop. Our last Power BI session. I hope you guys have been learning something so far. I mean, we've treated really interesting topics. We've done an introduction to Power BI. You guys have learned how to transform data and model data in Power BI. We've also learned DAX, the scary DAX. You guys have learned already. I mean, you guys are already a pro now. You don't even need to come for this. But again, this class promises to be as exciting as the others. We will be wrapping up and touching some really critical topics. And one of them, which is what we're having today, is on creating visualizations and reports in Power BI. If someone just say he's sleepy, please wake up. It's at what time of the day you are still sleeping. All right. So I hope you guys see my slide. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Let me see your reactions. Can you see my screen? My slides. Okay. All right. So today's session will be taken by no other than Fatai Sani. But before that, let me introduce myself. Or let me start from the rules first. So we all know the rules, right? We all know the rules. We have to come here with an open mind. I know some people may come here saying, "Oh, maybe I've used Power BI before. I've learned this. I've learned that." But please, if you don't have an open mind, you won't be able to learn. So an open mind is needed for today's class. Always raise your hands before you ask questions. Raise your hand so that I'll know that I would have to like make you presenter and bring you up to ask your questions. And the session is just 1 hour, so we may not entertain questions until the end of the class. So feel free to write them down, or you can drop some in the comments. When this presenter or the our speaker is chance, he will treat your questions. And we want your activity, we want your engagement. If the presenter says, "Oh, can you guys hear me?" Please give a thumbs up, drop your comments. If the presenter is saying, "Okay, maybe he asks a question," I want you guys to be active in the comments, because that way he's able to get regular feedback. And you know the other rules now. So this is not your first class. Sorry for the background noise. I was called for a family thing, but I will try to be. I'm trying to be in a quiet place, so sorry if you hear any background noise. So who am I? My name is Malcolm. My name is Malcolm. I am a BI analyst. I'm also a data analytics mentor and instructor, and I am a core member like yourselves. So I'm one of you. I'm in a batch B, batch C stream one. We went to camp last November, so I'm one of you guys. I'm not like any stranger or a big person. I'm also here to learn. So as the teacher is teaching, I'm taking notes on the background. Who is our speaker for today? Like I said, we are bringing Fatai Sani on board. Fatai Sani is a Microsoft certified trainer. He's also a Microsoft certified data analyst. Oof, okay. He's VP data advocacy, 8 years experience in helping business leverage the data to make better decisions. I mean, he's the full package. So please welcome on board Fatai Sani as he takes the floor and blows us away. So I will stop sharing my screen now so that Fatai can take over. Thank you
All
guys for
right,
your
thank you.
interactions. Perhaps.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you. Please confirm if I'm audible, please. Okay, can you also see my slides? Can you see my screen? Okay. All right. Yes, let's just dive right in. I have a lot of content today, so oh, sorry, I need to show my face. Apologies. Okay, I hope you can all see me too. Yeah, so once again, today we're going to be diving into the world of data visualization and reports in Power BI. I'm excited to be here. I am passionate about learning and also exposing myself to new things. And today I'm happy to be amongst the one of the greatest or the greatest minds in the country today, and of course I'm happy to be impacting as well. So today we're going to be, like I said, talking about data visualization and creating reports. And today, well, of course, this session is divided into two parts. I'm going to talk a bit brief. I'm going to see go into some presentation, talk about some of the do's and don'ts when we're creating Power BI visualizations, and then we're going to get into like the demo proper where we do we get our hands dirty and create some powerful visualization with packed insights. Like I said, we have just 1 hour for this session and I have a lot of content, so I may tend to talk very fast, right? And also, if some things are not clear, please try to drop your questions as much as possible in the comments, because when I'm done, I don't know how much time would have left excuse me, to take questions, right? So if you have questions, please drop them. As I'm seeing them, I can also talk about it as I proceed or as I progress in my presentation. Also, if I say something that is not clear, please drop it in the comments, or you can also rewatch the videos again. I'll see if the moderator is also magnanimous to give us some extra minutes just so that we can cover more content, because Power BI and data visualization is actually a very big topic in itself, and it's going to be a miracle how I'm going to deliver this in 1 hour. Okay, so please let's just go right ahead. So what are we going to be doing today? I'm going to talk about introduction to data visualization in general. What are the visualization best practices? Okay, I duplicated this a couple of times. What are the do's and don'ts, and what should you do also? So we have our demo and also our summary. So this is where I like to start. So I have a quote here by John Turkey that says that this is my favorite part about analytics: taking boring flat data and bringing it to life through visualizations. You've done a lot of things in Power BI already. You've done Power Query, you've done ETL, you've extracted your data, you've transformed your data, you've loaded your data, you've modeled, you've done data modeling, you've created relationship between your tables, your entities, and so on and so forth. And then you also went through the DAX expression. And for most people, right, especially when I can relate, because when I was learning Power BI, you don't appreciate all these things you have done up to this point until you start bringing those visualizations to life. Because no matter how powerful your analysis are, your insights are, if you're not able to communicate what you have done or your analysis in a visually appealing manner and in a manner that appeals to the stakeholders for them to take decisions, your analysis is always going to be in the back burner. No one is really going to be able to take action. All right, that's why all the things that you have done culminate up to this point into data visualization, and that's why this quote was very handy when I saw it. So it says my favorite part about analytics: staying boring flat data and bringing it to life through visualization. And today we're going to experience something like that. I've already been introduced, so I'm not going to go through this anymore. Now, this is one key thing I want you to take away from today's session. Your visualization are sleek as the insights that they convey. There are two types of people when it comes to, or three types of people when it comes to data visualization. There is the first type of people who they focus so much on the analysis and the insights that they are conveying without paying too much attention into the visualization. Sorry, one moment. They don't pay attention, too much attention into the visualization and how it looks, how to make it appealing and all that. This kind of people very much often, they don't get along very well with stakeholders, because even if you've done a fantastic analysis, you have all of these things, you cannot convince stakeholders, because stakeholders relate more with visual, with graphs, with storytelling, all right, things that can convey emotions and they can take action off of. Those are the first kind of people. They focus on the analysis so much, the functional aspects of their BI reports, without taking any cognizance, giving any into the visualization. The second type of people are the kind of people I call the artists, right? They're basically artists. They paint, right? If you see this visualization, they're very fine, very beautiful, so many colors, you have rainbows everywhere. All the Roy G. Beef colors are present in the dashboard, right? But I mean, no insights. Someone says they can't see my screen. So if you can see my screen, can you please drop like a comment or thumbs up? Let me know that this is not a general issue. Okay, so the second type of people, like I said, these are the people that I call the artists. They paint their dashboard, but there are no insight. The third type of people persons are the kind of persons you should emulate, and those are the people that combine both the functional and also the aesthetics into their report. So that's why I came up with this code, that your visualizations or your dashboard are as slick as the insight they convey. So you must be able to have very good visual. At the same time, they must convey insights. Okay, so let's move on. Now, does this look familiar? I'm sure we must have seen something like this before. You just do a random Google search, or just look at maybe some visualization you see online. These are, you see a lot of visualizations like this. All right, this is the will I say ABC of data visualization. This is where a lot of people start from before they start building on their visualization. So I can tell you 20 things that are wrong with this visualization, but I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to keep this in memory. And by the time we are done, and by the time we go through all the do's and don'ts of data visualization, you will be, I can come back to this and you can tell me what are the things that are wrong with this visualization. Okay, so just keep this at the back of your mind. Okay, just look at this, picture it. You can so, and I want you to come back, even if we can't do it on this call. Once you are done, I want you to come back and evaluate yourself. What are the things that are wrong with this particular report or with this particular visualization? I could have thrown forward a question. We do like a little conversation on this before we move on, but let's save it. We can come back to it if time permits. And I want you to also look at this type of visualization. Which would you prefer? Let's say this is A or this is B. Which one would you rather go for? Drop it in the chat. Let me know. Which one do you think resonates more with you and also conveys more message on for the business? Okay. Also keep this at the back of your mind. Now, we want to build great visualization. We want to communicate insights. We want to wow the business, and we want to get stakeholders to take decisions based on our data. Remember, when the output of your data visualization is not for you, it's for people to make decisions. All right, and that would be judged. A successful visualization will be judged by the impact and insights and what it does to the business itself. So this is why I have these very few lines of what I'm going to go through when it comes to data visualization. I'm going to talk about understanding the needs of the user, defining the end goal, make it sketch if possible, use the 5 seconds rule, understand cognitive psychology, and so on and so forth. I'll talk about this as we move ahead. Now, the very first thing you need to put into consideration when you're designing a dashboard or a data visualization is to understand the needs of the user, and to also design for the end users. There are different types of charts that appeal to different categories of people. All right. If you're the way you design a dashboard or a report for a C-level executive is not the same way you design a report for maybe the operations team or maybe the functional team. All right. There are different types of dashboard and different types of reports for different types of people. And you need to understand that. For example, a C-level executive, for instance, they want to see at the very high level the performance across board of the different KPIs that you are reporting on. So you want to, let's say, for example, you're designing things around sales. For example, you want to see the revenue, you want to see the top performing product, you want to see where they're losing money, where they're gaining money, what's the cost, and so on and so forth. Very high level information. And if you need to drill down, you do that. However, you want to design the same report for the sales team. All right, you're not going to just come here and just say, oh, this is the total revenue, this is the product, this is, you have to go granular, right? What are some of the best product people are buying together? How often do people buy certain products? What are some of these territories that are performing well. You need to give as much detail as you want, and you need to make it easy for people to drill and filter to what is important to them, and so on. All right? So understanding the needs of your user and designing for that particular user is one of the end goal. And the great way to do this is to ask questions. So someone comes to you, let's say you're lucky to have a project manager, or if you're not, you have a stakeholder that says he wants to know XYZ. Asking questions: what is top priority for you? What do you want to see? How do you want this to be displayed? Some people like tables a lot, while some people like charts. For example, if you're designing for finance people, or accountants, or you're designing a report, they love tables, like just plaster tables, even if it's 50, 100, they love it. They can go through it, right? And versus chart. So if you're designing for finance people, for example, and your report is loaded with a lot of charts, a lot of advanced charts, visuals, some bugs, all of those things, they just look at it. That's where you see people ask the questions: how can I export this to Excel? Because you've given them something, is good, but they want it in a way that they can relate. So if you design a report for someone and they're asking you, how do I export this to Excel? Maybe you think that maybe you've not done a very great job, right? I mean, that's debatable, right? But yeah, something along that line. So you need to understand the needs of your end user, what they want to do and what they want to achieve. And that is how you should design your dashboard. If you can, I always advise to start with a plan or a sketch of what you want to do. Most times people see the data, all right, and they just start visualizing what they find in their data. And this is one will I say, mistake that a lot of beginners make. All right, that's why you see that a lot of the visualizations you see online are more or less the same thing, right? So you just see a data, and then you just say, what is the best thing to do with this data? Is the total sales, total quantity, this, and everything is pretty much the same. All right, and you can have the same data, and the visualization, for example, will be different. For different purposes or different. You can have the same sales data, and the way you report it for A will not be the same person the way you report it to B. All right, and that is why first understanding the needs of the stakeholders. All right, understanding what they need, the reports, understanding your data, and the KPIs and insight that they want is the first thing before you even jump to the data and start visualizing. All right, and that's why I always advise that if you can, start with a design if you can. If not, I mean, it's fine. That can also, especially if you're just trying things out or the needs are not clearly defined at first, maybe it's not for everyone. But if there's a fully defined scope, or if you're working in a team, and it's always best to have an idea of the end goal from the beginning, just so that you're aligned. So for example, if I'm designing a report for someone, I can do something like this and send it to you. I mean, maybe not as ugly as this, but I mean, design something simple and send it to you. Does this resonate with you? Is this what you're looking to see? And so on and so forth. Okay, now the aim or the purpose of a data analyst or a data visualization or a BI expert is to solve problems, don't create them. This kind of visuals or dashboard create more problems than they solve it, right? Because you look at this and you can't tell what is going on. Okay, where are you supposed to look at? Where are you supposed to focus attention? I mean, this can also practically give somebody a headache just looking at it. And that's why you need to have an end goal in mind when you're doing data visualization, when you're creating reports and dashboards in Power BI. All right. I'm going to talk about some of the do's and don'ts as we proceed. Well, the aim of the data for your data visualization is to solve problems, not create them. You also have to understand what is data storytelling. All right. Your visualization or your report or your dashboard should tell stories. I can expand into all of this, but I'm just cutting it short just so that we get the main essence of my message and I can move on to the next. All right. Data storytelling is very key. How are you conveying certain stories? How are you putting things into proper context? And how are you conveying your message? For example, you display that your sales, you made 10 billion naira in sales in 2020. How does a stakeholder know 10 billion? Is that good? Is that bad? Is it 10 billion of what? Is how do I know if 10 billion is good? How do I know if 10 billion is bad? All right, 10 billion for if you say you do 10 billion naira in sales, or let's say 10 million naira in sales, and you just create a dashboard and say, okay, this our our report, our sales for the month is 10 million naira. How do I know 10 million naira? Is it good? Is it bad? 10 million naira for an oil company maybe just a very small amount, but 10 million naira for maybe a grocery store may be good. All right, this is where you need to add extra context. All right, versus last year, or versus our budget, or versus our target. Our sales grew XYZ% or reduced XYZ% versus previous period, or versus previous budget, or versus our target. That way you put things in proper context, and everyone can know if we're doing great or if we're doing bad. Okay, there's more to data storytelling, but I think you get the message. Should you use background images in your report or in your dashboard? I would say that if you're starting out and you don't really know much about what to include, how to use background image and all, is something to avoid. Okay, but as you proceed, as you go along, and you know your way around design and how to create visualizations and things like that, you can start incorporating it. But most times when people use background images and you're not very clear about how to the opacity or the transparency level and so on, it can take away the central focus of your message and give in or introduce a lot of distractions. Okay, so be careful when you use things like this. All right, so let's talk about some of the visualization best practices if we can. The very first thing I would like to talk about is when you're doing data visualization, try to reduce clutter as much as possible. So the next few slides, we're going to be seeing one chart on the left and one chart on the right. And the right chart is what you should aim to achieve in your data viz versus the left. All right. So look at these two charts you're seeing on the screen. They're basically saying the same thing, but one is communicating the message better than the other one. The very first one has a lot of clutter. It has a lot of noise. All right. The axis title, for example, the chart, the series one, the lines, everything. There's just so much going on. And if you have 10, 5 or 7 of this on a single page, there's so much distraction that you can't even concentrate on what exactly is the main message, or the main thing you want to pass across is that product A has the highest sales, which is 98,000 or 98 million as compared to product B, C, and D. All right, and this second chart communicates it better than chart A. So if you're designing a report or a visual like this, you can also as well try to reduce visual clutters as much as possible. The other thing you also need to understand is that people read your visualization or your report in a Z pattern. All right, they read from left to right and from the top right. All right, with the least important to the bottom, from the top left rather to the least important to the bottom right. So if you're designing a report, try to put like all your cards and KPIs, or the most important things that need to be focused on, the high priority message, try to put it in that very first quadrant. So try to maybe divide your chart into 4 quadrants, with the first quadrant being the most important. All right, so you can see this type of visual now. Every information around the actual year to date, the annual budget, the remaining annual budget remaining, and all of those important messages are at the top right hand side, top left hand side of the screen, and then followed by the top right, followed by the bottom left, and then followed by the bottom right. So understand this is the pattern when you're designing your report. Don't go put cards and KPIs at the bottom right side of the screen. People look at any information there as less important than what you have at the top right. It doesn't mean it's not important, but in terms of priority and in terms of being top of mind, the top left is rather ideal. You also need to understand how to use the right type of charts, okay, for your visualization. There are different types of charts that fits different types of data visualization, and that is what you should aim to achieve. Use a pie chart when a pie chart is necessary. Use a line graph where a line graph is necessary. There's actually a chart of the best visuals for certain reporting or for certain insight. You can just do a simple Google search, you'll get it, right? unfortunately, I don't have it in this slide because, of course, there's so much you can put in. But there's a type of visual you should use for certain things. For example, pie charts are used, for example, if you want to report on parts of a whole. So maybe there's a whole part and there's a whole and there are maybe smaller parts of that particular, maybe percentage contribution. For example, you want to look at things around that. So that's where a pie chart is necessary, and it's usually great for things that are less than maybe 4 or max of 3 different values. All right, don't use pie charts for comparison. When you want to compare A to B to C to D, pie charts are not necessarily great, and especially when they are more than 3, they are not great in that scenario. And they are less, no matter how beautiful they are, anything a pie chart can do, I'm of the opinion that a bar chart will convey the message better. For example, by looking at the pie chart on the left-hand side here, if you are to tell which product has the most sales, you'd struggle to quickly answer that question in 2 seconds. Okay, you have to first look at the chart. You see that, oh, what can I tell a difference? You can't. Then you have to now fall back to look at the data label before you can answer that question. But look at the chart on the right. It tells you straight to the point which product is performing the best, and it tells you what that value is, and you can easily tell which product is performing the least and what that value is. All right, so you need to use the right type of chart for certain things. The same thing applies to a line chart. If you're using a line charts are best for trends. All right, things that are growing or improving over time. Most times when you use a line chart, you're looking at things that are that have dates or year or month in there. All right, so that way you're seeing a progression. When people see a line chart, they see a progression. So don't use line chart, for example, for product comparison. So you say product A is this, and you're showing a line from product A to product B to product C. That's not the best chart for that. Okay, so there's a lot of learning or to know about how to use the chart effectively, and sometimes it comes with practice, sometimes it comes with a little research. Okay, also it should improve readability of your visuals. So look at chart A, look at chart B. The chart A, you can see the way the product's name is listed. Sometimes your product, the name of your category labels are so long that you can hardly read them on a single line. So people sometimes make it diagonal or bend it certain ways, and sometimes it's very difficult for me to read these things. For example, I need to maybe bend my neck for me to see it, and I don't also have data labels in here as well. So I'll struggle to quickly get the insight I need from this type of report versus the one on the right. Okay, use colors effectively. This is one place. If you learn this, there are a lot of people that have 3-4 years of experience building BI reports and they still struggle with this. If you learn it, if you inculcate and imbibe it at very early stage, it's going to help you a lot versus when you've grown and you're trying to correct, the way when you learn things the bad way and you're trying to correct it going forward, it's more difficult than learning it properly. I'll give you a very good example. If you learn driving maybe 20 years ago, and if you try to reverse, the way you look at it is to look behind you to see when you're trying to reverse. It's very difficult to switch from that to start using your side mirrors. But if you're learning driving newly and you're learning by using your side mirrors, that way it becomes a part of you and you don't have to unlearn that bad habit. Most people associate multiple colors with beauty, all right, but that is not always the case when you're communicating insights. All right, there are situations where you use colors to separate certain things, but it is not in all cases. And by all means, you should avoid using all the rainbow colors, all right, in your visualization. They don't really communicate that much insight as you think. Simplicity sometimes is key and is gold. All right, so compare the visual on the left, the visual on the right. On the right, I can very easily tell that maybe product A or product. Sometimes I can even say use the same color for the top 3 products and put in some context to say these top 3 products account for 70% of our total revenue, for example. That way I've put in enough context, and I've also used colors. Colors should mean something. That's the message I'm trying to pass across here. Don't just use colors for using color's sake and because it makes it look funky and it makes it look fine. And I always say this: you are not an artist. An artist is a kind of person or that makes mistake and turn that mistake to an art. In data visualization, there are certain laid down principles, and you don't just use colors because you want to flex. Okay, so look at a visualization like this. For example, there are too many colors in here, and the colors don't also mean anything. Let me give you an example. So, for example, I'll tell you about color association, right? So, when this person started, he used the light green, or I don't know if it's light green or light blue color for consumer, a pinkish color for corporate, and let's say orange color for home office. When people look at this report, they are going to associate all the other visuals to this color. So, for example, if you're looking at this visual in here that says sum of quantity, furniture, office supply, and technology, you think that they belong to the home office category because they are using the same color. If you're looking at the one below here when it says sum of sales, you would think that all of this green or light green color are associated with this consumer brand. All right. So, and if you look at here below where you see total sales, is the total sales, is that for the consumer or for the total? All right. So what I'm saying is that color should mean something. Don't just use color. This chart is very beautiful. It's very fine. I purposely introduced it here because if I had not said it and I say, oh, is this beautiful? A lot of people would say yes. All right. But does it communicate the proper insight that you need based on the way the colors are used? I would say no, because the colors are excessive and they don't really mean more. So use colors only when you know that colors are they will convey a certain message or a particular message, and avoid using more than at least maximum 3 colors in your report. And it's not like a golden rule. It's a best practice. Some people can get away with more than 3 colors, especially if the colors belong to the same family. All right. So let's say you have different shades of blue, for example, and they're very close. All right. So maybe you can get away with something like that, but not like colors that are very far apart. Also, you should try to provide context in your data visualization. So look at the chart on the left and look at the chart on the right. The left one just says 690 watts. Is it 690 gold? Is it 690 Bitcoin? Is it 690 naira, $690, or is it 690 sales? And even if it's 690 quantity, let's assume it's quantity and there's no units. All right. So this 690, is it good? Is it bad? All right. But compare that to the right chart on the right. It says October sales and it's 690. Now it provides context. All right. Month versus month on month. So compared to last month, there is a 4% decline. Compared to last year, there is a 9% growth. And compared to our target, it's a 6% above our target. If I see this type of visual 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, I'm going to appreciate what goes into it versus just giving me that the sales was 690. Okay. If you look at the line chart as well, it also gives context. It pointed to the target, which is the dotted line, and then it gives a gray mark for sales last year, 2019, and you can see 2020 in here. And you can also see the maximum where we recorded the maximum sale, which was in July, and when we recorded the minimum sale, which was in April, with that dotted line. So with this kind of visual, these two visual alone summarizes all the points that I've tried to make since morning. There is no visual clutter. The colors mean something. Red is used for negative value or for loss. Green is used for positive values. Context is provided. You're identifying which one are the max point and which one are the minimum points, and you're also using different lines and different charts for that. So this is the level of perfection that we should look forward to when we are creating our data visualization. And I always tell people, you don't necessarily have all the inspiration you need when you're starting. So this is where you need to get inspiration online. By just doing a Google search of dashboard inspiration, you can see some of the best practices. For example, if you go to some of these may not necessarily be done in Power BI, maybe it may be done on Behance or some other design tool, but you can easily replicate some of the best practices or designs, all right, that people have used, and you can easily incorporate it into your own visual as well, all right? So when you don't have a lot of ideas, or when you want to see best practices of how people, I'm not saying everything here is good and everything here is useful, but at least over time, when you it's like watching if you have a very bad fashion sense and you watch fashion shows every day, after a while you start knowing what goes together. Can I wear Crocs on agbada, for example? Can I wear what is it called, all stars? Can I wear it on suits? I mean, you can be able to tell when you associate and you start feeding your eyes with a lot of good visuals and you try to emulate what the best people out there are doing. Also, your visualization gets better. And sometimes you may need to use custom backgrounds, especially if you're working for a brand that have a particular theme of how their color should go and so on and so forth. There's a whole science to using background and creating backgrounds in PowerPoint, but because of time, we'll not be able to talk about this in practical, but I just wanted to show you that this is also a possibility, okay? So if you're designing a chart, for example, you can design your custom backgrounds in PowerPoint or in Figma, save it as SVG and import it into your Power BI, and you just overlay your data visualizations on them. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Again, my name, my Twitter handle, my LinkedIn, but there's no time. So let's quickly get to the what we're trying to do today. Let's practicalize some of the things we have learned. Can I take one question? Maybe from what I've talked about so far, one question. If it's short, we can do two, but if not, we just stick to one. Anyone? Okay, yeah, I can jolly. I'm sorry, let me just say Bolaji. Bolaji, please, quickly. Can you unmute? Let me just quickly check. Okay, I think we need to unmute. Allow you to use your mic. If you can assist Malcolm with the people that have raised hands already, so they can ask your question. Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay, I just want to ask a question. You made mention of when you have a column, or let me say maybe your wire is the value there, they are long. So and you need to set a diagonal. How do you do something like that? Like how do you set this value to be diagonal so that it doesn't just be a vertical something that some details will be cut off. Or you want to make it maybe to fall into maybe two lines or maybe in diagonal that people will be able to read it very well. You made mention of that in your conversation earlier.
Yes, so I made mention of it in the context that it may not necessarily be the best thing to do in some situations, especially if the names are very long. Sometimes you have some product names that are actually very long. So by default, it depends on the space that you have. Power BI can even also make the axis name diagonal for you by default in Power BI. All right, but what I'm saying is that you should, if you have very long names, maybe it's even better to switch to a bar chart, all right, than for you to stick with that column chart. That way you're able to easily read the names, all right, versus when it is in diagonal form. Does that make sense, or did I answer your question?
Is applicable to both bar chart and column chart. Because if I'm using a column chart, it's just that the name will be on my y-axis side, and this thing will still be long. And if I'm using it on the bar chart, means that it will be on my x-axis side, and the name will still be long vertically. Is it preferred that I can just remove the whole this thing? So when when the yeah, the whole name. So when they click on
No.
this thing, Okay, sir.
No, that wouldn't be advisable. So, for example, remember that you are not supposed to increase the cognitive load of your users. So, take for example, I remove the name here, and I just leave this chart like this and let people figure out. Not everybody will be able to figure out that they need to hover on this chart to get the name. So, it's advisable to not do that. Most times, if you clean your data properly, you may be able to see how to reduce the name. So that it's not long, or even if it's that long, there's a way, even if you put it on, it's more readable when you put it on the bar chart than if you put it in a column chart in most cases.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, one more question, Sylvester. Sylvester, very quickly, if you're there.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, I have two questions. Now, the first one is using color effectively. Now, I don't know. I'm kind of person that I fell in love with gradient color. So now the question is, using a gradient color for your charts, is it advisable? Now, secondly, the second question is maintaining color consistently. Now, the thing is it advisable as an analyst to have a consistent color that you can actually deal with your clients, or to maintain a particular color or a particular color that you can use for your clients, or it depends on the client's what the client actually wants to use. Maybe the company logo or color has to do with maybe blue and another color, then you have to put it in line with the company's color.
Yes. Yeah, your question is clear. Most times that is the case. Most times when you design for organizations, especially for some critical data visualization, they mostly prefer their brand colors. And this is very easy. You can get it, you can understand somebody, even if you're not, even if a product image is not shared with you, or a product, what's it called now? In brand colors are not shared with you. You can easily do that by, if especially if it's a popular brand, get their logo online, and most times you can always see their brand colors to associate with from their logos, and you can use a color picker tool or something to identify which colors are present in that brand color. If you look at brands, especially how they represent themselves, you always see that they represent themselves across all their branding and their communication across with their color. So you see an MTN, for example, it's not like you're going to splash yellow everywhere, even if it's a touch of yellow, but that way communicates that this is MTN as a brand. If you're building for Coca-Cola, you have that touch of maybe red and that maybe those stylish fonts, right, as their brand. So it's most likely you're not going to design a report for MTN, for example, and use red, or you use green, right? Maybe, well, but I mean, most times you stick to the color, the branding colors, and sometimes you can use neutral colors as well. It may not necessarily be, like, for example, I can't imagine that all the reports that are built in a company are going to use the same color. Some are not really correct. So you are building a report for the IT department in MTN or in Dangote, for example. Maybe colors at that stage don't really matter as much, but I mean, you can still use neutral colors, or just use effective colors. Should you have a particular color that is what you use for all your data visualization? I would say no. You also have to be flexible enough to adjust. Can you use gradients? Yes. So this is where I say it depends, right? Don't overdo it, and don't use very contrasting colors. Sometimes if you use gradients effectively, it can also improve your visuals. So let me give you a particular situation. So look at something like this, for example. I think some gradients are used at the top of this page, but this is not even designed in PowerPoint. The background of this was designed somewhere sorry, it's not designed in Power BI. So this was designed in PowerPoint, and then it was used. So if you're good with gradients, but again, You have to stay with a particular theme and don't overdo it. Okay. That's as much question as we can take now. Every other person, we can bring down our hands. Maybe at the end of the class, we can continue. I still have a lot of materials. Okay, now I'm sure we remember this Power BI file. This was what we used. Oh, sorry. Someone says they can't see my screen. I don't know if I was sharing my entire screen, so I'm just going to share. I'm just going to stop share and reshare my entire screen. So share screen entire. I was sharing my entire screen earlier, I guess. But anyway, I'm sharing again. Can you see my screen now? Thumbs up, please. Can you see Power BI? If you can see Power BI, you are in the right place. All right. Thank you. Okay, so you remember this Power BI file? This was what we used in the last class for our DAX and data modeling for our data model. So I just felt it makes sense to just continue with that. Since we're already familiar with this, I don't have to introduce all these visuals, and I don't have to necessarily create new DAX. I'm just going to use whatever is available here. And if possible, I'm going to then maybe create, I won't have to create any new visuals. Now, how do we create data visualizations in Power BI? Let's quickly go through the basics. Okay. Now, you see right here, you have your visualizations. All right. These are your visualization in Power BI, and most of the visualization you need, in fact, 90% of the visualization you need, if not 95, you can achieve it with these visuals here. However, sometimes you have some complex visualizations that are not available here. What do? You can also always go to the store, all right, to get to the Play Store. Is it Play Store now? Confusing myself. Forgot the name. Please, Malcolm, if you remember, drop it in the chat. You can get more visual from App Source. Yeah, and you can incorporate that in here. Otherwise, you use all of these. Now there are different charts for different visuals for different things. We have a card visual. Card visual are mostly used to display numbers or to display KPIs and visuals. Okay, and they're used to display single values as the case may be. All right, you have the stacked bar chart, you have the column, the stacked column chart, you have the clustered bar chart, you have the clustered column chart. These are used to compare different variables. All of these, the stacked and also the stacked column chart as well. You have the 100% stacked bar and 100% stacked column. So these are usually used to compare values with the same axis but with different distributions. Okay, you have the line chart. I mentioned the line chart already. This is used to measure trends over time. The same thing with the area chart, in the stacked area chart. You then have some combo chart, which is the line and the stacked area chart. When should you use something like this? We'll look at it as we proceed. You have a ribbon chart also for comparing trends, as well as the drop or the gain over time. You have a waterfall chart. This is a very, very interesting chart, and a lot of people they misuse it or they don't understand it. But I mean, we can always look at that as we proceed. We have a funnel chart. Funnel chart are often, these are one of the most abused, this is one of the most abused charts and that's because a lot of people use it wrongly, but they don't use it for the right way. So we'll talk about this as we move on. Then you have the scatter chart. Because of time, I may not necessarily have to tell you each of these charts and what they do. So let's just start building something and we explain it as we move along. Now let's say we are creating a report for a company, and this is a sales. They have their sales data, and what is it called? The MD would like to get information around the revenue, their gross revenue, the comparison with the net revenue, let's say gross revenue. They want to also compare that figure with their net revenue versus what quantity of items they are selling. And they also want to see the orders for that as well. And they want to see the performance across, they want to see performance across product segments. They want to see performance across products. They want to see performance by their customers, and they also want to see performance by their sales representatives. All right, sales representatives. Okay, so this is just a simple visualization that we're going to be building today. So where do we start from? The very first thing, there are different ways to start creating visuals. There are 3 ways. The very first way is to start with your visual. So let's say I want to show the KPIs on the cards. So I can select here, I want to show a card. Okay, I want to show a card. What do? I click here, I select the card. Then I expand my, my data to visualize the card I want to show. In this case, I want to show my gross revenue. So I can click on the gross revenue. I can drag it into this field, or I can drag it into the card, or I can just select it. So for example, the 3 will give me the same result. Okay, so you can see this is one way to create this visual. Okay, this is my sales, my gross revenue. I'm going to repeat that using the second method. So I want to create another card. I can click on card here. So this is my card. Okay, now I can just select the net sales, okay, in here, and this will give me my the total net sales. All right, for that, you know, I just selected, I didn't really drag it anywhere. I can decide to also drag it in here. This will give me the same visual. Okay, so this will give me the same result. The third way is I can just come here and select a let's say I want to see, so this is my gross revenue, this is my net revenue. Let's say I also want to see my order quantity. All right, the quantity of items ordered. I can click on the quantity and just drag it to my canvas. Remember, we've been told that this is the canvas. Again, I don't want to repeat what other facilitators have said. I'm sure that they've told us that this is a report view, this is the table view, this is the model view, right? So all we're going to be doing today would be from the report view. Okay, so we have gross revenue, we have net revenue, and then we have the sum of sales quantity. But this is what happened when I just dragged my sales quantity. Where is sales quantity again? When I brought this here, it chose a visual for me, and the visual it chose was a column chart. But I don't want a column chart. I want a card. So I can come here and switch to a card. So I've used 3 different methods now to create a to create a visual. Okay, the last thing I want to create is my the transactions, all right, that happen. So this is gross revenue, this is net revenue, this is the quantity of item purchased, then orders or the transactions that occurred. I can drag this and bring it here, and after that I can select a card visual. All right, this is my total transactions. Okay, so you see, easy peasy. Creating visuals is easy as ABC, right? Once you understand what you want to do and you are clear of the KPIs, this is actually the easy part. The difficult part is really knowing what visual to represent, what insight you want to communicate, and then finally we lead to this. Now remember, I also mentioned that the stakeholder would like to see the sales, the performance of the gross revenue by the product. They want to see it by the product, they want to see it by the consumer, and they want to see it by the customer and also by salesperson. So I'm going to do something here. I'm going to show my sales. So let me come back here, fact table. I've selected a pie chart, for example, and I want to show my gross revenue. So if I just select a gross revenue, it's going to add this to values. All right, just if I'm not sure where to put it. And I want to select my product. All right, So I can go to dim product. You've already told us about relationship and all of those things. So I want to bring in my product name to the legend. All right. Wow, this is very beautiful chart. Do you agree? Everyone, if you agree with me that this is a very beautiful chart, please drop yes in the comments. This is a very beautiful chart. I love how the colors are vibrant, how all the colors come alive, and how everything is just popping. Like if you really love, if you love it, please drop a thumbs up, drop a like, drop yes in the comment. Let me know that this is one of the best charts that you have ever seen in your life. Why is everybody saying no? You don't appreciate good things. You don't know. You don't love beauty. Okay. All right. So you're all correct. You should never use a, yeah, someone said I love how you shout like a diamond and it's giving rainbow. Okay. So this is not the best way to use a visualization like this. Okay. Best way is to use any of the stacked any of the bar charts, all right, the stacked bar chart. Again, this is an example of what I'm saying. If you use a column chart in this situation, you are not going to be helping your users, because how do I know which is the fifth performing product? How do I read all of these names? All right, especially if you have a very small space to play with. All right, look at this. All right, and someone will have to scroll from left to right to be able to see all your visuals. So this is also not a great visual. You should stick to a stacked bar chart in situations like this. If you also want to make this very impactful, one of the things you can do is you can do a top 5 or top 10 product, and you can also do a maybe bottom 10 product. But we don't have that luxury. Let's just proceed with what we have. Okay, so this is our sales by this is our revenue by product name. Okay, now we also want to see our sales by customers. We want to see what customers are contributing to our revenue. So I'm going to use a line chart here because we want to see our customers, all right, and we want to appreciate them. So I'm going to bring in the company name, all right, the company name into the line chart, and I'm also going to go to the fact table, and I'm going to bring in the gross revenue. Wow, I love this. Just see how the trend has flown from a quick shop. If you agree with me, if you have high for good things, please appreciate this by clapping for this type of visual that I've used. So I have a line chart here, and you can see it's very beautiful. You like it? It's amazing. Everything is good. Everything is fine. No need to change anything. No need to edit it. But yeah, someone is saying no already. That's because you guys don't know good stuff. You don't know good things. Okay. But you're actually all correct. You don't use a line chart for things like this. Line charts only should best be used for trends over time. All right. Also, should you use a cluster column chart again, you fall into the same category. It's very difficult for people to scroll from left to right. All right, but it's easy for you to scroll downwards. All right, like this. Okay, so this is the best way to represent this. If you also want to reduce how clustered this is, you can also do like a top 10 or a top 5 products, all right, just so that you can focus attention, or you can highlight. So for example, this is where identifying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like perhaps this highlighting this top 6 as the product that are contributing up to 40% or 50% to your revenue. That way you're able to use colors effectively and also focus on what needs to be done. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to show, I'm going to bring in a funnel chart. I also want to show my sales by I've done product, I've done the company name by salesperson. All right, so I'm going to bring in a salesperson here. I'm going to bring that to the category, and I'm going to bring in my gross revenue also to the values. All right, so this is the best way to represent your the sales by revenue. If you agree with me, thumbs up, yes. Tell me you like it, or what is wrong? What is wrong? Why can't I do this? What is wrong with? I mean, people should be able to agree with me on this one, right? This is good, right? Can you quickly drop a comment? Salesperson, you can see that Margaret performed the highest, and then Annie performed the least. All right, this is good, right? Please quickly drop a chat, drop a comment. Let me know. This is good. Yes, this is good. Thank you, Taiwo. Thank you, Taiwo. Who is this Udo that is saying no? She does not know good. He or she does not know good stuff. Right? Why are you saying no? Why are you saying no? Yeah, someone say yes, it is well depicted. Someone say our tutor, the white nose. No, it is not. Okay. Why is it not a good chart? All right, for the interest of time, don't use a funnel chart for things like this. Funnel charts are best for, I'm looking for the word now. Funnel charts are best when you want to look at hierarchies. All right, when you're looking at hierarchy. So for hierarchy, thank you very much, Jelly. So you do a marketing campaign, all right, and you want to track the effectiveness of that marketing campaign. Okay, so the very first line is to say that, oh, 1 million people view the post, or it has 1 million impressions. The next line should then be 50, maybe 500,000 people clicked on the post. All right, 200,000 people landed on our website. 150 people viewed 3 or more products. 10, 20, or 50 people got to the cart. 15 people clicked on, completed the sales order, and then we completely delivered to 5 people. That way, you can easily monitor and look at the hierarchy and the progression, all right, with a chart like this. Most people, this is, like I said, this is one of the most abused charts that people use. They use a hierarchy chart for comparison, and this is not the best way to do that. Okay, this chart also is gold for things like this. Can I also use a pie chart or a donut chart? Please, I beg you, in the name, whatever you believe in, don't. Okay, so this is also the best chart for something like this. Now, finally, I want to introduce a trend. We're already 5 minutes over time. We want to look at our month-on-month versus year-on-year sales. Okay, month-on-month. So we remember we have our calendar table. So we want to bring in the year. All right, I can select the year. I can select the month name. All right, and then I can select the sales. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Fact table. I can select the gross revenue. Okay, let's say I also want to see the net revenue, and I also want to compare that to the quantity as well. So we want to see information about the year, the month name, the gross revenue, the net sales, and also the quantity. I can use a table for this. At the same time, maybe let me try scatter plot. Wow, this is fine. I love it. You can see how everything is popping. Okay, you can see it looks cool, it looks good. Someone says waiting be this. Okay, we're doing a trend. All right, so like I said, the best way to do a trend is to use so I'm going to delete all this because I've made a mess here. So what I'm trying to do is I want to combine values that have different axes. All right, so I want to compare the net sales, I want to compare the gross sales, and I want to compare quantity. They have different axes. All right, but let me start from here. Let me start from here. Let me start with this one, a cluster column chart. So with this, I can drag my year. One moment. I can drag my year to the x-axis. I can drag my month name as well to the x-axis, or I can create a hierarchy. I don't know if we've been taught how to do that. And then I can bring in my sales, to my gross sales to the y-axis. I can compare that to the net sales. All right, so this is gross revenue. Some of these things I'm using implicit measures, but we've been told the difference between implicit and explicit measures. So when you can, as much as possible, use explicit measures, please. But we don't have that luxury. That's why I have to use some implicit measures. So now you can see we're trying to compare two things now. We're comparing the gross revenue and the net revenue. And we're seeing that we're comparing it over time for different years, 1996 and also 1997. You can see the progression, August, okay, December. Okay, no, this is the format, the axis, the sorting is wrong, but I'll fix that later. Okay, and after this, we want to bring in we also compare this to the sales quantity. All right, let me see sales quantity. So let me see, I can also bring in the sales quantity. Now you can see that this is wrong, because the sales quantity does not have the same. These ones are in millions or in thousands, but this one is in the has no definite units. All right, so we cannot use the same chart for this. This is where a combo chart becomes really valuable. All right, so we can use a combo chart like this, where we have our gross revenue, the net sales in the column y-axis, and then we move the quantity to the line y-axis. Now you can see someone in one single chart, someone can see the progression of the comparison between the net sales, the gross sales, and also the quantity that was purchased over time. Okay, there are also a lot of wonderful visualization I can do from here on, but let me stop here for the kind of visual. The next thing I want to do is let's clean it up. Let's move this visual from what it is currently to, let me show you, wait for it. I want to move this visual from what it is to maybe to something like this, where I just properly format this, and then I maybe edit it and give it some formatting. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next. All right, so let me quickly explain the end goal, just in case we cannot finish. So you can see this is the same thing we did. Ordinance sales report. We have the gross revenue, we have the net revenue, we have the sales quantity, and then we have the transactions, and then we have the salesperson performance, the breakdown. We have the revenue performance by company, we have the revenue performance by product. All right, and then we have the month-on-month trend. Now you see what I did here was that everywhere you have the gross revenue, they are with this same is this dark blue or bluish black color, or I don't know if I should call it blue. Let's just call it blue because I'm bad with colors. Everywhere you see, I'm associating the color blue with gross revenue. While net revenue is associated with the color, with the light blue color, and quantity is associated with this. I don't know if this is pink. Maybe pink is maybe not be the right color. Maybe look for another color that you're comfortable with for this. That way, anywhere I see the light blue, I can know that on this chart, it is all net sales. Anywhere I see this, everywhere is gross sales. And then when I see a pink, I can easily, someone can easily, don't need to stress themselves when they want to know that this is quantity. Okay, now how do I move? I'm not saying this is perfect, right? This is something I just put together in like 20 or 30 minutes. All right, but this is a great place to start. Also, one of the things I didn't do, I said that we should provide context. All right, so what would have made this more perfect is that adding performance versus last year, performance versus target, performance versus previous month, but I didn't want to create more measures. I want to use the same measures that we have here, so that's why we don't have all of that here. But in your own, when you are recreating this, since you've been taught how to create measures, you can compare this to last year or last month performance or compare it to target. You can do the same for net revenue, you can do the same for quantity. This is one of the few things that is missing from this chart. Now, how do I move, or how did I move from this to this? That's what I want to quickly touch on, and that's where formatting comes in. Now, again, remember I told you about using inspiration. One of the very few things you can do is to get inspiration online. And I mentioned that you can easily just do a Google search of dashboard inspirations. Dashboard inspirations on Google. You can go to Dribble or go to Pinterest, or just navigate to the image chart. And here you can start to see some good design thinking that goes into some dashboard. So you can see here, if you right click this, if you right click and you go to open image in new tab, let me also look for something else. Let's look at this one. Open link in, oh, not link, just open the image. Open image in new tab. Let me see something else that I can show you. Okay, let me just open another random one. Open image in new tab. So here you can see some things you can copy. Okay, so you see this one is total patients, operational cost, and average patient per quarter, right? So this is a very simple template. You can recreate it, or if you like dark theme background. Again, if you're not very good with dark theme background, stay away from it. Most people make mistakes, especially if you're not good with color association and so on, all right? But if you're able to pull it off, dark theme is also something you can do. And then this is another type of visualization. So you can see very simple, but it communicates the right message that you're trying to do. So if you don't have a lot of inspiration, this is a very good place to start. Okay. Now, how do I format this? Let's say I have an inspiration, or I already know what I want to do, or I don't know what I want to do. The very first thing, I can go to the view tab, okay, and I can start exploring some things that we have here. Okay, so I can start exploring certain things. So you can see things. You can start exploring some for you to get an idea of maybe what you want to do, and so on and so forth. So you can see, let's say this is where I want to start from for my own data visualization. Okay, what is the next thing I can do? I can come here, I can go to customize current theme. All right, I can of course edit all of this one by one, but I just want to use a simple trick to quickly do all this. So let's say we want to select colors. So if you come to customize current theme, you can see this is my color 1, color 2, color 3. You can switch this as much as you want. So all of this is going to be my primary color or my dominant color. Remember the 70-30 rule. This is going to be my secondary color, and this is going to be my tertiary color. And I can of course edit this as much as I want. Okay. Again, I'm just choosing this color randomly. There's also a color. Let me quickly do that. There's also a site. If you're not very good with colors, there are sites that you can go to look at color association. What colors go together? And one of them is colors.co. Let me just drop that in the chat. Colors.co. I'm sorry if I'm rushing now. Just bear with me. I don't want to sign in. Leave me alone. So look at this, colors.co. If you go to the home page and you go to explore trending palettes, you will see a lot of colors that can go together. So you look at, for example, so you can design your dashboard. You can copy these colors, and these are the colors you use in your dashboard. Or look at something like this. Let's say if you are designing something for feminine beauty or something, this would go for something like that, or something like this. Can you see? So it will give you the color code, so you can just copy this X code and use that in your color. So let me show you how to do that. Let's say I want to copy this particular color. I can click on this. You can see the code is copied. If I go back to my Power BI, I come here and I paste the code here, Ctrl V. You see, I've already replicated that color in my design. All right, let me go to text. So I want my general text to be Dean with font size of 10. I want my titles to also be Dean with font size 10. And maybe grayish color, gray, like this. My cards and KPIs, these are too big. I don't want them to be 45. Let's say I want it to be 20. Okay. And I want my tab headers to also be Dean, and I want them to, let's say, to be 10, and I want it to be gray. Again, there's a lot of flexibility to how you can do this. I'm just giving you some of my own ideas. You can also set your background colors if you want your visuals. If you want your design to have background, in my own case, I want it to be transparent. I want to use the same background colors. Sometimes you can set a background color to be off-white, and then you make your designs to have like a shade. Again, all of these, they have flexibility in how you want to do it. Let me just apply what I've done so far. So you see, I've been able to make some changes. You can see the start. All right. So from here, I can start editing my my visuals. Okay. I'm just going to edit few, and I'll skip to the end. So everything you want to do by editing a visual, you can do it from the format pane here. If you go to format your visuals, everything you want to do. Let's say you're not clear on what you want to do. You want to change a color. You can just type your color here. It will give you which color do you want to change. You want to change the color of the colored value or the category label and so on. You can choose. But you can spend some time familiarize yourself with this. All right. So this is the color here. So let's say I want to choose the background label, the background. I can come to effect. I'm going to change my background to this, not black. I think this is my primary color, right? Yeah, I want to change my background to that. And I want to change my font, the color value. I want to change the font to white. All right. And my category label, I want to change that to maybe just a gray or off-white. Okay. Now I want to have round edges. So I can come here, turn on visual border, click on expand that. I want to have rounded edge of say like 10 or 11, and I want the color to be white or gray. Okay, so let me click elsewhere. So you can see I've been able to edit this. All right, I've been able to edit this. So let me quickly replicate this same thing. I'm just going to format my visual. I'll click on format. I'll click here, click on format, and click here so that it can pass all the changes that I've made. All right, to all the visuals. All right, let's see. Now all I just need to do is to change this other primary color. So I want to change my net sales. I want to change the color of my net sales to this, and I want to change the color of my quantity to the color I brought in. Is it this one? Is it this one? I hope, I pray it is. If not, manage it like that. Okay, so you see now I have these 4 colors. Now, I told us to reduce visual clutter. So how do we reduce visual clutter? This product name is not necessary. This gross revenue is not necessary. This x-axis or x-axis is not necessary. We can replace all this by just adding a data label. So what do? I go to the format pane. I go to the y-axis. I turn off the title. All right. I leave my y-axis, and I go to the x-axis. I turn off my title. I turn off the x-axis as well. Then what I just need to do is to turn on my data label. Okay. You can see I turn on data label. I'm good. All right. I've been able to reduce the visual clutter. I can give this a befitting name. So let's just come here and go to title. Instead of gross revenue by product name, I can just say product performance, product revenue performance, or product revenue performance. All right. And of course, I know that this is gross revenue. So everywhere revenue is being mentioned, it is gross revenue. I can also centralize it. General, go to title, centralize it. Again, if you play around this, if you know what you want to do, you can play around the formatting as much as you want. Just stay with the guided principles. Once you know the principles, you've imbibed it, it's easier to replicate all of this. Okay, so I've done this. Let's say I want to choose rounded corners for this as well. Let me just do all of this once. So I'm going to go to effect. All right, I'm going to introduce a visual border, and I'm going to make the color of this to be white. And I'm going to make the rounded corner to be 10 or 11. All right. And I'm going to introduce shadows into this. Okay. So I've done it for A. I can quickly use the format painter to replicate it for B and to replicate it for C as well. What do I need to do next? I just need to size appropriately. So size is like this. I size it like this as well. Reduce the, I can use the property pane also to set the proper height and the width. Okay, I have this. All right, I can change the name here. I can change the name here. I can also do the same for this as well. Let me just quickly do that. So effect, no background. I want visual border and I want shadows. I want the visual border to be white and I want the rounded corners to be 10 or 11. I align all my visuals to be the same start the width. Let's say I want to reduce the height of this guys a little so I can have space for my title. Okay. Come in here, please. If you can always reward these videos, I know that would have access to it to recreate yours or create something different. All right. For you. So reduce this, reduce this, reduce this, reduce this. Now I'm not liking the way these primary colors are coming out, but it's too late to change that now. So the next thing I want to introduce here are just the filters or the slicers. Okay, so I can bring in here a slicer. How do I want my data to be drilled? Let's say I want to drill it by the employee. I want to drill it by salesperson. I can format salesperson slicer settings. I change it from a vertical list to a drop down. Apologies if this is too fast for you. Please rewatch it at a very slow speed so that you can follow along, right? We are pressed for time. So we can bring in salesperson as well. Sorry, we can bring in customer. This is customer name. And then bring it as many visual as you want. All right. So again, you see that I've been able to move. Let me just switch to the one I finalized. Everything here is basically similar to what I've done in that previous chart. Okay. I formatted all of these cards. I formatted these ones. I formatted my month-on-month trend, and I've introduced a pin here for my slicers. Okay, now I can drill this particular data. I can drill by product, right? And I can also drill by the customers, all right? Customer information, which customers are contributing to the highest revenue. The only things that are missing here is the context that I told you about, all right? How do you provide context? By comparing these. So let me show you one quick way to do this. I'm going to introduce a gauge chart. So let's say I want to compare my my sales revenue to my or should I use a gauge, or let me use a KPI? Let me use these. So let's say I want to compare my net sales. So come to fact tables. I want to compare my gross revenue. I want to compare it to my sales.
Sorry, good afternoon. I think you need to start wrapping up, sir.
Okay, apologies. Let me wrap up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I am done. Okay, I just wanted to show gross revenue versus net revenue, and I want to bring in my dates into the trend axis. Or let me bring in my year. I'm going to use a gauge. Okay, for the interest of time, I'm just going to stop here. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending. I have used way above my time, and I apologize for taking extra time. Thank you very much. I don't know, over to the moderator now.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fatai. I think the next session now is like we'll just take a few questions and let's say one or two questions. Sure. Please, if you have any question for Mr. Fatai, please raise up your hand or you paste it on the chat. Okay, so the first person is Tawa Kalitu. Please unmute your mic, Tawa.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for today's class, sir. I just want clarification on some things you mentioned. In case
Okay.
I want to display top 10 in the case of
Yes.
this column cluster that this
Yeah.
top bar chart that you
Yeah.
displayed. In case I
Yeah.
want to display only the top 10, how do I do it,
Yes.
sir?
Okay, quickly, I'm just going to go to the
I just
filter pane.
ask all of my questions at the same time, sir?
I think you're only limited to one because of the time we have. It's because of other participants as well. Maybe if we have more time, you can ask another question. So you have like your company here. So I have my company. So I can come in here to the filter pane. So I can expand the filter pane. I'm currently on this visual. And I can change this from a basic filtering. You can see top N here. I can put in top 10. What do I want to show? I want to show top 10. Top 10 what? Top 10 gross revenue. So I'm going to drag my gross revenue in here. So you can see top 10 revenue, apply filter. So you see, now I'm only limited to the top 10. I cannot scroll down anymore. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, top 10. If I change this to 5, and change this to 5, and I apply, I only see top 5.
Okay.
All right. So quickly, Taiwo, your question.
Taiwo, you can unmute your mic.
So we'll take Taiwo, we'll take Jelly.
Hi, Taiwo, you can unmute your mic, please. Okay, over to Jelly. Jelly, please unmute your mic.
Can we confirm if their mics are enabled? Okay, I think it is.
Yes, it is, sir. So she said she's trying to, like, Jelly, you can just type into the comment section if you don't know how to go about it. Okay, I'll be on meeting at Pasiti also. Abubakar, Abdul Basit rather. Please unmute your mic.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much for this session. My question is that what is the difference between a KPI and KPI charts?
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. So if I get your question very well, there's a KPI visual in Power BI, which is this one. All right. And this KPI visual allows you to compare to add extra context to your visual. So what do I mean extra context? You have your sales performance. You want to compare it to your target. You want to compare it to your budget, or you want to compare it to maybe performance across a certain year, and you want to put in a trend axis as well. All right, so you can do all of this. Let me put in month. You can do all of this with your KPI visual. All right, so when you say a KPI chart, I'm not sure what you then mean by that. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Sorry?
Yes,
so
I
this
mean the
is what a
KPI chart visual.
Yeah, this is what the KPI visual looks like. So you can see here, I'm trying to compare. It tells me that my goal was 45,000. I've made 50,000 and I've achieved that. So it shows me that that's a positive mark, and it's 12.63% increase in that. So this KPI visual is very useful for me to track if a particular goal. Another chart you can use for this is the new card visual. If you also use the new card visual, you can also use this to tell to provide context. The card visual may not necessarily be able to do it, but the new card visual, you can add a revenue and you can also provide context. So if you want to see what are my reference label, for example, you can add that to you can add a label, all right, to your references. So you can see, let's say this is my my revenue. I can see this is my, let's say my target is net sales, and I can then add a marker to say if that is if I met the particular revenue mark or not. All right, so that's what you use the KPI visuals for you to track a particular goal, performance against a goal.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Fatai. Thank you very much. Because of time, we might not be able to like take every other person's question, but in case if you have a question, so you can always drop it on the WhatsApp group or DM me or any of the moderator for your questions. And also, Mr. Fatai, thank you very much for your time. It's really a pleasure to learn from you. Thank you very much, sir. And we appreciate you for coming here. I think it needs a round of applause, please. So as usual, let's what we've learned today, please let's go on LinkedIn, let's post everywhere and tag Mr. Ganil, tag Mr. Fatai, Adewale, Analytic, every other person you want to tag. Thank you very much, sir. And the session is hereby come to an end. Thank you and see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.